Have you planted the seed yet of like, hey, maybe Gal comes back, like maybe Giselle. We didn't see technically her die.
Derek, I don't need to do that. You can go to social media and everybody's already talking about that,
Yeah.
Right? So the fact that you even asked that question is something that they're already thinking of.
Come on, this ain't the Boy Scouts. This is what we do, and what we do is have Sung Kang, Han himself. Welcome to our binge of Fast and Furious.
Thanks, Eric. It's good to be here.
First off, a great man once said, he lives his life a quarter mile at a time. Nothing else matters for those 10 seconds or less. He's free. So how would you sum up Fast 6 in 10 seconds?
Oh, that's so hard, Derek. How do you sum up Fast 6 in 10 seconds? Oh, that's so hard. Come on, that's a question you needed to send me like a week ago. And I gotta... God, I don't... Well, let me ask you, how would you sum it up?
Oh,
And then how would you sum it up? Because I don't know if I can do it in 10 seconds. How would you sum it up in 10 seconds?
I feel like I'd go a tank, a long runway, and tears. I don't know. That was like less than 10 seconds, and that didn't really give much away of the movie, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
I know.
I wasn't prepared too. I should have set myself that question.
Yeah. All right, ready?
Yep.
Okay. Love, loss. That's it. That's it. That's like a love, loss, love, loss, love, loss. That's it. I think those two words are enough. Love and loss.
I think so. I think so, especially when it comes to Han. That is kind of dead on.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to talk Fast 6, which, I've seen it so many times, but rewatching ahead of talking to you, I'm convinced this one's now underrated. I feel like it's because it's sandwiched right between 5 and 7. Like, 5, obviously, I think a lot of people, 5 might be my favorite movie of all time, like not just Fast movie. And then 7 was such a big one as well. For you, what's the first thing you think of when you think back to Fast 6?
Fast 6 was kind of like the last time everybody was really together, so that movie is really special because we got to spend a lot of time together as a group in the UK. And I remember we had a Thanksgiving dinner while we were in London, and it was a really special time. I think it was the last time as a cohesive group we were able to hang out together like that.
That's beautiful. I love that you guys had Thanksgiving dinner. I've heard you talk about in previous interviews that you guys also got to hang out a lot after filming for 5. So was this like sort of a carryover, just a reunion feeling of everybody, the whole family's here?
Oh, yeah. When you're on location like that and you guys are housed close to each other, there's a lot of opportunities to hang out after work. So, London's a great place because there's so much to do. There's so much culture and, so many pubs to go to. And, it was a nice carryover, really. 5 was the film that we were all in Puerto Rico together. So it kind of felt like we were in a big dorm, and it was the first time that we really got to know each other, and hang out and become really good friends. And then 6 was an automatic carryover. Yeah.
We'll dig really deep into 6, but I feel like we should start by going back. So obviously you and Justin first worked together on Better Luck Tomorrow,
Yes.
which you guys debuted Han. So how does the conversation initially start of, not only you being in Tokyo Drift, but you playing Han again?
Well, when Tokyo Drift came along, Justin had given me and a couple of the other actors from Better Luck Tomorrow a call to have lunch. And just to break the news, it was like, hey, I got this great opportunity to direct this movie called Fast and Furious. They're like, what? Right? Like, what? And Better Luck Tomorrow, if you go back to the movie, he actually references Fast and Furious in Better Luck Tomorrow, right? And the idea that, a film that we kind of grew up on and watched on screen that we get to be a part of was crazy.
Rumors about us came and went fast and furious.
So how does it feel to be famous?
Better than sex. The more notorious we became, the more invitations we got. We didn't know half the people we partied with.
What are you guys?
A club.
Oh, like a math club or something?
When we shot Better Luck Tomorrow, I remember our craft service was a box of Entenmann donuts and 5 sticks of Wrigley spearmint gum that was spread out, like 5 little sticks, right? And then when Justin actually had the opportunity to direct Tokyo Drift, he had a production office with the production staff with extra chairs, and he had his own little mini fridge. I mean, we would close the door and just start freaking out and pinch ourselves. Look where we come from, right? Coming from this little film, Better Luck Tomorrow, to the actual inside the gates of the Universal Studios. And when Justin first approached or spoke about Tokyo Drift, he was telling me and the other actors that there really isn't a role for us in the film, right? It was kind of, it just felt, Justin's really honest, and he trusts his guts, and it's really about casting for him. That's what he was taught. It's casting. And even though he's our friend and, our bro in a way, he just wanted to say, hey, there's certain structures within the film that, you guys don't fit, and, hopefully there'll be more opportunities, but I just wanted to let you guys know, right? And we're like, oh, that's awesome, man. And then Justin gave me a call, and he said, Finn Hiller were the casting directors for Tokyo Drift. Big time casting directors in Hollywood. I never had the opportunity to meet them. And, just to give you guys a point of reference, at that time, I mean, I don't think I even had an agent. Getting opportunities were very rare. To even go audition was very rare. Justin said, hey, why don't you just go in and why don't you just read for the Sean Boswell character? It's already cast. We already decided we were going to cast in the film, but it's a great opportunity for going to meet the casting directors for future opportunities. So I went in there and read, had a lot of fun. And then a few weeks later, Justin called and said, hey, I think Bow Wow was cast in it, right? So they had cast Bow Wow, and they said, there's an opportunity for a smaller character. And I think his name was Phoenix at the time. And it was, we were going to cast a hip hop artist for that. But since we already have Bow Wow as Twinkie, there's an opportunity to just kind of open it up. And, the pitch was that why can't we hire an Asian American character with a nondescript lineage? It's not Japanese. We don't really know who he is. And we're like, yeah, why not? That'd be great. And so Justin showed the tape for, Sean Boswell that I had read already. And I went in and met a couple of other producers. And that's how I got cast into Tokyo Drift. It wasn't really written out, at the beginning, but then so it just eventually evolved. So that's how I got into Tokyo Drift.
Phoenix, that ends up being a character in Fast Four. So I love that maybe not the full character, but at least the character name carried over for Justin. I mean, we see Han, now we can say quote unquote die in Tokyo Drift. So then what's your reaction when Justin, says he wants to upend the whole timeline of Fast and go backwards and, and have Han still alive? And even at the top of Fast Four, it seems like it could still just be a one-off here. Like, like you show up at the beginning and then you're kind of like, oh, I think I might go, check out Tokyo. So again, we're like, oh, that was good to see him, but we might, that might be it. So what was it like when Justin tells you like, no, I want to keep this going?
I was kind of asking him what he was drinking or smoking. Like, how do you bring your character back from the dead? And I had to step back and first go, wow, this is pretty special that, a character that had passed away is brought back. Like, they have to upend the whole timeline. I mean, I kind of was scratching my head going, I wonder if this is disrespectful to the audience, or is it going to be hokey, And I had a talk with a veteran producer friend of mine that was retired, and he said, how rare it is for, a studio to change the timeline to bring back a character. He's like, this is very rare in Hollywood, and you should really embrace it. It means that, the character is really popular with the fans, and he's like, you can't discredit that. And he's, early on he was telling me that, this is a fan-based franchise. It's really fan-supported, so you have to listen to them and embrace it. It's rare, so. I was like, let's go for it. It's like, what a great opportunity. And under Justin's, guidance, I knew it wasn't going to be hokey. He was going to, he was going to make it, something that we could be proud of. So I think it worked out.
How much of the, I guess, through line of Han's character, once it was decided, okay, we're going to go back and figure out how we catch up to Tokyo. Mm-hmm. How much of that did you discuss with Justin, like throughout? Because it ends up being 4, 5, and 6. Did you kind of know what that arc was for all of them, or was it sort of a surprise with each movie?
Well, each surprise being, popular and then kind of upping the previous one, it's, that's the unknown. Who knows, right? We never know what's going to happen when you put the film out there. So, I mean, you can talk about it and say, yeah, it'd be great if Han could live on and all the characters can live on to Fast 100. But, look, if Fast 9 comes out and nobody watches it, it's probably the end of being fast, right? It'd be slow. Yeah. So you just hope for the best. You enjoy the moment and you just hope for the best. And my producer friend told me, he's like, you just got to embrace it because it's one of those rare things. So,
yeah. I know from the fan side, it was every time there would be like a tease for Tokyo and be like, oh no, not yet.
Yeah.
Because it was just so exciting.
Yeah.
We mentioned Han, lives on for a few more films after Tokyo Drift, and even more after that. We've learned in last year's trailer, but we knew one day like the events of Tokyo Drift had to catch up. So like, how did Justin tell you ahead of Fast 6 that this was finally the time, or was it kind of like you had known for a while that like this is probably going to be the end, at least for now?
No, Justin keeps everything really close to his chest because he knows the process as an actor. If I kind of know too much, it's not helpful during the performance, so he's really smart in keeping certain information away from the actor. So, in the moment we can be true to whatever we're going through. Right. And then I think towards because they had to decide, I think there was a lot of, they're trying to figure out if Statham was going to come back and, what characters were going to come back and how it was going to work out. So they didn't know. And, the cool thing is that everybody's there working cohesively together to, kind of evolve while we're shooting because, ideally, let's say you want somebody like Statham, but he's busy. I mean, it doesn't work out, right? Or, there's the show business part of it. And sometimes things just don't work out, right? So fortunately it did. And I think the reason it works out is because it goes back to the fans. I mean, the fans support this film, and I think any actor with some brains will look at that and go, hey, man, this is good for my career. Great opportunity. It's already a beloved franchise, and it brings in a whole new demographic maybe they didn't have before. So I think that's why as you start to see the films evolve, you see these amazing actors. Like, we have Helen Mirren. Like, I scratched my head. I'm like, what? And the coolest thing, guys, this is one of the coolest things that's ever happened in my career is while we were shooting Fast 9, I had a couple of weeks break. So I, went home, right, to see my family and everything. And I came back and I'm looking around in my trailer and I noticed there's a different, brand of tea, English tea. It was P&G Tips, just little cheap, English tea. And then there was some other cutlery and things in the trailer that I didn't notice. And then I look down and I see the sides for Helen Mirren, right? So she was in my trailer for the 2 weeks, drinking her tea, using my toilet, right? Laying on the bed, not my bed, but I mean, it was, ours, right? And dude, I was free. I had to actually make some of her tea and sit there and go, oh, wow, this is what a Oscar winner drinks, right? It was pretty cool. It was surreal for me, it was pretty awesome.
Got the e-brake for me, would you, darling?
I would have watched that reality show, if you guys were happened to be sharing it for a few days at least, Sung and Dame Helen Mirren, just sharing the trailer. That would have been amazing.
Imagine.
It makes me think of, because you used to do the car discussion sort of series that even was happening while you guys were filming. So I would love to see her on that with you.
I know. She would be brilliant. Next time I see her, I'm going to ask her. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be so awesome. Yeah.
Did Justin, I mean, obviously it seems fitting that, you and Justin come into the Fast world together. You leave the Fast world together with Fast 6 and then now coming back again with Fast 9. So I don't know, that doesn't seem like a total coincidence. And even talking with Justin previously, it's, pretty obvious, he felt like that was the right thing to do. Did you guys have any conversations about that as you guys were wrapping Fast 6 and knew that you were both kind of, moving on at least for a bit?
No, we thought it was over. I actually thought, okay, it was what a great ride. We enjoyed it. It changed our lives for sure, and met some amazing people. Definitely taught me more than I ever expected about the business of Hollywood. So I was totally like happy and content. And then, the opportunity of coming back together. Come on, that's like, that's a Hollywood story right there. To find justice and wherever the injustice is, and to play off of that, and to have kind of a call to action. But how awesome is it that I feel like this is the film that we're really in tune and connected with the fan base. Before we're going through motions and trying to figure things out as we're going through it. But the ethos of it is like to give the fans what they want, because, everybody listen, this whole concept is fan based. This whole hashtag Justice for Han was created by Jen Yamato, an LA Times, journalist who felt like there was just injustice. Like, how could you kill this character off without never addressing it, And you have to step back and go, wow, there must have been something really powerful from these films and these characters for people to spend their time and resources to say, I want justice for a fictitious character, So it's pretty cool, man. It's sometimes I go, how did all of this happen? So it gives you perspective, and it tells you, man, you got to really just be grateful for the things that are happening to you, So.
When was the first time that you sort of encountered the Justice for Han hashtag? Did you just see the LA Times story, or did fans try to interact with you? Like, you're on social media. Did they reach out to you that way?
Oh yeah, I would see it every day. They would tag me and tag that. And then, I didn't want to get too emotionally invested because, these are these are huge moments in our lives. And, you don't want your expectations up too high. But then, I started noticing that, studios were listening to social media. They were listening to the fans. And with all the negative things about social media these days, the one thing that I think is really positive is that it does give you an insight to what people are thinking, like right away. Like, it's instant reaction. And they can be sincere. They can be sincere, and they don't have to hide behind any pretense, because you don't know who these people are. Yeah. So if they hate you or hate the movie, or you did something that really upsets them, you will hear about it every day if you're on social media, So I would see it. I'd be reminded, okay, all right, justice. I get it. But what's going to happen, man? It's like, It's nice. But then it just started getting bigger and bigger. And then here we are, guys, So.
I mean, why do you think you mentioned this is like a fictitious character, but what do you think it is about Han that people just connected to? You know what I mean? Like, not every character that dies in a film, people are on the internet, and making hashtags and making shirts and, wanting, I mean, we could have never even imagined the Justice for Han movement leading to where we are now with you coming back. So what was it about the character you think that just connected with people so strongly?
I think if you just break it down and you take away, ethnicity or cool cars and all of that, it's a guy. I think Han is a friend that everybody wants, this idealistic, kind of conception of the older brother, or the guy who's going to take care of everything, the loyal friend, the guy who is cool, but, is still kind of, he has that Robin Hood kind of vigilante kind of vibe about him. And at the end of the day, the way I think the creators and Justin kind of structured him is it's taking like the best version of you and kind of going, okay, if you were to hang out with the cool dude or cool gal, what would that person be like? And number one, that person probably wouldn't be thinking about money, would probably have integrity, would probably be kind of really worried about, the person's word opposed to who he is, or how famous he is, or what car he drives. And somehow, Han exudes that. It's just really simple. And also, even choosing the name of Han, it's a really kind of difficult translation from Korean to English. Is Han in Korean means like it's a yin and yang. It's like even when good things are happening, you have to be careful because something bad's gonna show up, right? And when things are horrible, don't stress too much, be calm, because I mean that something good is going to come. So Han has this like even keel. Even if he's making money, so what, man? Something might happen. Like the love of your life is going to disappear. So you better always find balance, you know? So I think he just makes people feel comfortable and at ease, and there's no judgment. You know, when you hang out with Han, even in the real life, when I go out and I meet, you know, fans or people that have seen the movie, in a way they want me to be Han. You know, they want you to be that friend or the big bro or the mentor that doesn't judge and is okay with whatever you drive. And it's just like, as long as you're a good guy, and you could be part of the crew, you know. And I think it's weird. It's like I feel like I have a key to every car guy's garage or car person's garage, you know, because they want to tell me about their car, give me a beer, you know, and tell me about their whole life. And it's, you know, it's really been a pretty amazing blessing being able to put on the Han wig, if you will, you know.
I saw like in an old junket interview, I think, where you talked about how it even kind of took you a while to really appreciate what Han's like value system is. In part because, like, you know, now sort of Tokyo Drift, he's sort of at his wisest. I mean, until we see what happens with 9, but and then we kind of go back and see his journey there. So for you, like going back to him again in 9, did you feel like you had to sort of reconnect and evolve him even more, like, you know, figure out what is that next level of cool now that he's had some years to sort of like deal with everything he's gone through?
That's a great question. What is the definition of cool? Really is. It's hard. I think it's impossible to play cool. You know, like you tell an actor, be cool. Like, you can't do that. What's he going to do? Like, I don't know. I don't even know where to start. You know, it's you know, unbutton your shirt. Is that cool? I mean, for some, that's gross, right? I think for me, Fast 9 was the easiest one for me to play because, you know, Han is older. You know, he's much older. He's much wiser. There is a different level of, I guess, guilt or weight that he carries, you know. And I think if I showed up 5 years younger or 10 years younger trying to play that, you know, I wouldn't know where to start from. And I think just because, you know, I'm older now, and look, it doesn't matter if you're in Hollywood or, you know, you work at the post office. Life deals you life problems, and it's, if you can adjust and learn from it, you know, and I think that's where wisdom and that's where coolness comes from, is on how you know, deal with the daily crises of life, right? I think just, you know, life lessons has given me perspective that I didn't have before. And I think, you know, it was kind of a natural fit, you know. It was like in Fast 9, you know, we have Han's hair shorter, you know, so it all just kind of it all made sense. Nothing felt forced. I had short hair back then anyway, so it was kind of, it worked out, right? And because I was older, and as an actor, I was playing older characters, right? So it was nice. It was nice to come back, and I was a little worried. I was like, well, you know, what if all the you know, the elements of the Fast things were just kind of lost to me, but because of the family and because of the actors and most of the crew came back, it felt like a reunion, and it was pretty easy to plop in. And then you have all these wonderful artists that help the process, right? So any nervousness or kind of insecurities, you know, it just resolves after a few days. So, you know, Fast is like going to a family reunion, you know, and everybody there with the right kind of motivation to make something super entertaining, you know?
Yeah.
And
kind of going back a few steps to Fast 6. I mean, you know, we pick up with Han and Giselle like in Tokyo.
Ever thought about settling down? Starting a life together?
Aren't we doing that?
Are we?
When like throughout the movie, it's like clear like Han has like truly fallen for Giselle, and they're like both ready to start, you know, this life together. And it's, I mean, it's really bittersweet watching back, just knowing like what's to come, you know, by the end of Fast 6. And it's impressive how invested, you know, we all got in that relationship, considering it's really just 2 movies with you guys in it together. And I mean, it's not like it's a major, you know, it's kind of like in the background or these little moments. What did you love about that relationship and working with Gal? Like, was the chemistry like pretty immediate on Fast 5, and you guys were able to just build from that?
You know, people always ask me what's it like? What was it like kissing Wonder Woman? And, you know, Gal Gadot. You know, she's so beautiful and everything, and you know, she is beautiful. All of that, I get all of that. But at the end of it, she's so cool to hang out with. She's like just one of the crew, and you know, she's like a tomboy at heart. So, you know, there was nothing like unusual or uncomfortable about her. She makes you feel, you know, like your old friend right away. You know, I think because most of the time we were paired together, we were also hanging out. And then, you know, a lot of times we got to talk about family and history and, you know, the things that we're dealing with in our daily lives. And so, you know, we had a friendship. We had a true friendship. And even though both of us are married, that friendship was able to carry over into the film because, you know, when Giselle does eventually, you know, I guess technically fast and furiously pass away, right? You know, I knew I wasn't going to see my friend. I knew maybe we wouldn't see each other for a while, and it was over, right? So that really sucks, right? But in terms of working with Gal, come on. The reason she's Wonder Woman is because that's really who she is. You know, the camera doesn't lie. I was told by the old cinematographer once, and I said, you know, he described to me that, yeah, the camera doesn't lie, man. You know, there's certain people that are born to play superheroes and certain people that are born to play villains. Not that they are in real life, but there's some essence, some, you know, light behind their eyes that needs to be projecting. So the camera grabs it. And I think perfect evolution for Gal was Wonder Woman. I mean, that's who she was and that's who she is. So she's A+. You
be careful.
This is who we are.
So like that sort of penultimate scene, like where we lose the Giselle character, happens in the middle of this giant action sequence. So like when you're playing that, how do you, like, did you guys talk about like sort of the right way to sort of catch that intimacy? Because I also imagine it's like a lot of stuff with Fast and Furious is practical, but I can't imagine you guys are like with the giant plane the entire time, right? So how do you sort of bring sort of that emotional element to that, even though there's all this other stuff going around?
Well, that stuff is shot separate. You know, the close-ups of us kind of losing each other on that plane, that was all in green screen where they got the nose of, you know, the plane and they actually got a real car and it was lifted up and, you know, we were on harnesses. So you were actually going through the whole motion, right? We didn't see, you know, we weren't on the 100-mile runway, which if we were, it probably would have been better because we had a lot of time to kind of go through it, right?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you get put in the position, and then emotionally, when the camera runs, you gotta call it up, right? So, I mean, that day was pretty demanding because there was a lot of stunts going on, and you know, we are actually on the nose of the car and the plane, right? And we're going through it, right? And fortunately, somehow, they were able to grab those emotions, and I think it worked out. I think it was pretty impactful, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, you're obviously not, you know, the writer or the director, but obviously you think a lot about, you know, Han, and you know, you'd been playing him for so long. We knew one day we had to get to him, the version we see in Tokyo Drift. And as you guys were building this relationship with Giselle, I don't know, for you, did it feel like this was kind of the only way you guys could get to where Han is in Tokyo Drift? Like he kind of had to lose Giselle, or did you kind of have conversations about that as you guys were deciding this is where it was going?
No, like I said, you know, the information is really kept away from, you know, the actors, from Justin, right? And I think rightfully so. So we never really discussed that, but I do think he needed to lose Giselle because he's Han. You know, it's like anything that good happens, something bad's going to follow him, right? And it's really on how he deals with that is what makes Han. You know, because if he wasn't Han, he would just disappear. He would probably drink himself to death and go, "What's the point of this?" Like, you know, really, what's the point of money if you don't have people to share it with? And there was a whole life with Giselle that they had planned, you know, so. Yeah, so I hope that answers your question. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Also talking about the other sort of big relationship with Han that we hear about obviously in Tokyo Drift, but we don't get to see until like you come into Fast 4 and then into Fast 5, is that Han already knew Dom. And so like when you are brought back into the series and it's like, okay, we have to establish this relationship. Did you guys have to talk a little bit about that backstory? We could sort of get hints at it as fans, as viewers, but we don't know sort of the whole story behind sort of how that relationship came together and how you become part of the crew, really. So did you and Vin, like, getting to know him, like, did you guys talk about that at all?
Yeah, did you ever see Los Bandidos? The thing that was shot in that Vin directed in the Dominican. So that tells you where, Vin wants to, and he's always searching for connective tissue to make these relationships sincere, right? So, Vin's really good at sitting down and just kind of talking things through and, what if this and what if this and let's try this and let's go for this. And, he knows that without, that sincerity on screen with the family, that there is no Fast and Furious. Aside from the cars, the cars will bring the people there, but it's that family chemistry and that family theme that keeps the audience there. It's because that's the thing that everybody can identify with. It doesn't matter who you are or what you drive. You can identify. Somebody has a family member, right? But the car stuff, it's like if you're into cars, that's great. But then after that, he knows how powerful that is. And because, he's a filmmaker first, right? And he's always looking for, character integrity and character arc. He's adamant about sitting down and having, long discussions about that.
There's a few scenes we wanted to ask specifically about, but before that, I wanted to kind of see, do you have a favorite scene in Fast 6? Is there one that like really sticks out to you for whatever reason?
Let's see. I love getting my butt beat up in the train with Tyrese and Joe.
I was going to ask about that one, yeah.
To me, it's my favorite scene because it's like everybody in Fast always is so badass. They beat up everybody. They can, it's like, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, you can take on 20. And then you got two of the main characters, Roman and Han, and we can't even handle one little fight, Asian dude, right? Like, he beats our ass in public, right? He just whips us. And I think some actors would have problems with that, but I think that stuff is hilarious, right? I go, you just do what is opposite and what is expected.
No one needs to know about this. No one.
And that was so fun. To be able to go through all that choreography and then, have three actors kind of try to figure out how we're going to make it cool, but then make it comedic, right? And I just felt like it was a scene that didn't belong in the movie. It was more of a comedy, like a Lauren Hardy kind of thing, right?
I love that sequence was at the same time as like Michelle and Gino were having like this like really incredible like even fight. And like it's juxtaposed with like you in Han and Roman just getting destroyed and thrown through windows. Like that was kind of perfect.
And that's how I think the studio and the filmmakers addressed representation for females in films was that like what a perfect, just what you described was like how awesome is that you have two of the female leads like just kick some butt, and then you got the male lead just getting their ass whipped, right? It was perfect. It was a perfect way to address that,
Sort of to stay on that, like, how is it working with Tyrese? Because you also you have the scene before that where you guys have a little bit of a comedic rapport, and I've heard that he's like singing on set all the time. So what was it like to get to team up with him a little bit more?
It's like having that fun brother that is there and that has so much energy, and it's like when Tyrese and I are together, working is kind of hard to do because we're always laughing. Dude is the funniest dude. It's like he can lighten up every mood, every set. Like he'll show up and start singing, and then it makes you step back and go, yeah, why am I taking this so seriously? Take the work and the craft seriously, but still, it's a movie. Have fun with it, right? And it's cool. Tyrese and I are like brothers now, So yeah, I'm glad that we've had these years to get to know each other and really form a relationship, So I think that's the best thing that came out of it.
There's so many huge action set pieces in this one. You guys have the tank, you have the huge runway and the plane sequence. Did you feel like obviously Fast 5 went up a level from 4, and each one seems to go up a level, but like Fast 6 really felt like where you guys were like, oh man, we're doing some like crazy stuff with these action set pieces. Could you guys feel that as you're doing it, as you see a tank?
Guys, we gotta come up with another plan. They got a tank.
We're so desensitized to it now. You know, it's like, of course you got to top. You got to keep topping it. Like, and that's the joke is like, where do we go next? I guess you go in a submarine. After that, where do you go? I guess we go to space. Then I go, after space, where do we go? I think we're going to be in heaven in Fast 10, you know? Within total different dimensions. So and we're used to it. You got to keep topping it, man. You got to keep topping it. Like every time you see the cars, you go, wait, it went from a Honda Civic to what? To this Koenigsegg? Like, how did you get there, right? You got to, come on, you know?
Is there something that you haven't done that you would love to do? I mean, thinking about topping things and going and going and going. Like when you talked to Jordana and she was saying that at one point she was thinking, oh, we should do like speedboats or like something like that, which you haven't done a lot of water. Is there anything like that you would love to do?
You know, I would love to go back to some of the classic cars, you know, because over the journey of the Fast movies, like I said, it gave me access to, everyone's garage. So I got to go out and really learn and appreciate these cars and these builders and these amazing car communities that are out there, not only in the States, but throughout the world. And one big complaint from the fans, especially the car guys, they go, hey man, you guys are so far removed from like realistic cars. I mean, cars don't fly, like, not in our world, right? They barely even run in their world, right? So like, it'd be nice to kind of represent that and go back to realistic communities. And I'm a student of, these people and these artisans and these builders. And I would love to start putting some spotlights on these amazing cars that have been built just by regular folks, The $1 million supercars are great, but, it's nice to go back and put a spotlight on what's beautiful and the thing that doesn't cost $1 million, So that's what I think. And I think the Fast world has room for that, and that's where new characters can develop and different kind of story themes can develop there. Like, it's not how much the car is worth. It's really, the care and the love that was put into building the car, right, is where the value comes. So stuff like that, I'd love to do something like that. Yeah.
We've alluded a few times to this epic runway, probably the longest runway in history. I think there was actually a study that it was supposedly 26 miles. Like someone actually broke it down. We talked about like filming, the more emotional part with Gal, but what was it like just in general? I'm sure it was a lot of work and a lot of time spent on that runway wherever this is. So what was it like? Just take us through kind of filming that sequence.
It was like camping out because most of it was at night, so we had those are called night shoots, right? So they usually run from sunset to sunrise, right? So you're out there, you feel like you're camping out with all your friends, right? And then around 3 a.m, the actors get to go into a trailer and the crew stands out and they actually do most of the work, right? So, they deserve all the credit for, scenes like that. I don't have much recollection of it because, to isolate just those moments, it's a little difficult because, a million things are going on and you're half asleep most of the time because, like I said, it's at night, right? So those nights are complete blurs to me. I have one recollection is, I'm a Liverpool football fan. Yeah. And there was a whole bunch of fire, like fake fire from the airplane and there was great lighting. And I was wearing the Liverpool jersey and I took a picture of it. And that's really all I remember from that evening, Oh, I do remember this was, I think one of the last times I got to hug Paul was that when Paul comes up to me and with Jordana and gives me that embrace. I think that was the last time I got to hug Paul, so I do remember that, I
mean, what you mentioned earlier, like, Statham coming in and obviously the reveal of him being responsible for Han's apparent death, at least. I mean, what was your reaction when you hear that, that Statham's being brought in and, that he's responsible for Han's death and it wasn't just this random thing as it appeared like it might have been in Tokyo Drift?
Dominic Theroux. You don't know me.
Now, the Statham is a crazy story. So let me go back a little bit. Years ago, I did this movie called War, and Jason Statham was the star, right? And I played this little character in the film where I play one of the policemen in the force, the detectives in his crew. And the bad guy was Jet Li in that film, and it was a big deal. Like, I get to work with a couple of heroes, right? And I remember when we finished the film, Jason and I were at the airport together. For some reason, we were flying out on the same plane. And he goes, "Hey, what are you doing next?" And he's like, what are you off to? He goes, "Hey, yeah, I got cast in this movie called Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, really?" And his, Cockney, he's like, "Oh, that's a great one to be. That's a great thing to be a part of, Mike." Right? And I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, that's a big franchise." And this was, remember, there's only 2 movies at that time. He's like, yeah, people love those films. He's like, "Well, good luck to you." And I'm like, "All right, see you later." Years later, full circle. Oh, come on, man. And I was talking to Jason about that. I go, "Jason, do you remember that?" I go, "Think about it, man. Like, we actually talked about this thing, and full circle, we come back, and you're the dude that's taking me out, right?" That was pretty cool. It's really cool every time I see Statham, like, we bring that stuff up. It's like, it's just weird in this business. It tells you, like, hey, man, do not be an asshole in this business, because it's small and you eventually end up working with people again, right? So yeah, the fact that we are in a film together at that level, like, talking about it, where I was basically an extra in this film and then coming full circle. And yeah, that's pretty crazy. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
I love that he didn't even realize he was actually going to be in Tokyo Drift. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
right.
I know,
in there
right?
too.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
I love that.
It feels kind of like meant to be overall, because with Jordana, she was working on Annapolis with Justin when he got Tokyo Drift, and like Tyrese is in that movie. So
that's right.
It's like amazing just how you all are kind of connected to each other in this way. It's like, oh, clearly this was just meant to be. Is that what it feels like when you guys are together?
It does. I mean, I don't know if Vin knows this. I think I told him maybe, but he did a film called Multifacial way before Fast, right? And it was it's a film he directed and starred in, and it was, the whole theme of it is, the trials and tribulations of a biracial person in Hollywood. Like, what are you? Are you black? Are you white? Are you Hispanic? And right at my darkest moment as an actor, when I was starting out, right, I was like, man, there's not going to be opportunities for people of color, especially someone that looks like me. And I don't do martial arts. I go, I deliberately don't do martial arts, right? And that's not who I want to be. That's not why I started acting. I go, there's no opportunities for someone like me. And I went to Blockbusters, and then in the $1 bin, where they would sell the movies. There was this movie called Multifacial, and I was like, what is this? So I bought it and I put it in. And that movie gave me hope. And every time I was about to quit, I would stick it in and go, yeah, right? I go, hey, man, keep going. And that movie taught me a lot of things, because, Vin directed it, he produced it, he starred in it. After talking to him, like, when I said, why did you make that film? It's like, because no one was giving him opportunity. So he tried. And that film got him cast into Saving Private Ryan, right? And then the rest is history, right? And we talk about that, and I go, dude, of all the actors that are out there, I find this $1 videotape, right, at Blockbusters. And that film gave me enough wind behind my sails to keep going, that I felt like I wasn't alone. And I didn't know who Vin Diesel was, right? Like, it was just this dude from New York, right? Another actor. And then years later, I'm talking to the dude, right? It's, yeah. I mean, that's meant to be, is it not? Right?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of talking to Vin or even Justin, have you planted the seed yet of like, hey, maybe Gal comes back, like maybe Giselle. We didn't see technically her die. You mentioned earlier, you called it like a Fast and Furious death. So have you slipped that in? Just throwing it out there.
Derek, I don't need to do that. You can go to social media and everybody's already talking about that. Right? So the fact that you even asked that question is something that they're already thinking of, right? So yeah, I'm sure it's in the plan. Yeah.
It's tough as a huge fan. You're like, at one part you're like, oh, like those were such like huge emotional moments, like these deaths, whether it was, Letty first or, Han or Giselle, and you're like, oh, they were such great moments. and like, what does death mean if they come back? But then you're like, no, I love those characters. Like,
Yeah.
give them to me again. So we'll keep that campaign going. We'll have to get a good hashtag. I don't know if we've landed on a specific Giselle hashtag, but we'll have to figure one out. We've seen your probably Han death scene is probably sets the record for the amount of times a death scene has been shown, like on film. I would guess. I feel like we've seen it at least 3 times. Did you ever have to like go back when it was like and film anything extra? Like when they add Jason, is that just like they're just like special effect adding him in, behind it, or like when we see it in 7 again, or is it just you filmed it that once and they just keep reusing it?
Some of it they can. It just because we look older now, right? So you don't want that difference to stand out so much, right? But fortunately, I look kind of the same, right? So it's they can recycle some of the older stuff, right? But and it also Justin keeps me away from some certain things, like to rehash the whole death thing. He knows that it's probably not a good idea to bring me back to do that, right? And so they were able to recycle some of the stuff, and with special effects today. After they scan you and, all these modern things, like it's amazing what they can do,
We know, to talk about cars a little more, like I know you've talked a lot about how you first got into them, like you had a neighbor that you went to. What was it, like did getting into the Fast movie sort of expand your investment in car culture and like your love for it? Like what did those movies, I guess, do for you and when it comes to cars and talking about them and learning about them, exploring?
Well, like I said, the franchise is giving me access to, the car community. So I always had enthusiasm for cars, but, I did not, basically my family didn't have the resources to do stuff like that and, buy hobby cars and everything. And then getting older, it's just so busy, it's so busy to to actually spend any time on that. And, it's going to cost some money to a degree, right? And look, people think like actors, they have it great all the time. But when you're starting out, man, I had 30 jobs just to pay the rent. So working on a car is a complete luxury for me, right? So now where there is more time and there's more resources and, I'm able to go and spend time with people not only doing great work within the cars, but I'm able to search and find answers in my personal life, right? Like, what does it mean to be a good husband or a good son? What does it mean to be, a good brother? And I look for these things within car builders that when you look at their cars, you go, oh, there's a certain level of integrity or OCD or compulsion, obsessiveness, right? Why is this person successful in their builds? And why do the cars come out this way? Usually it's a reflection on how they live their life and who they are. I can now pop open a hood or look under somebody's, console and see their wiring system. I go, yeah, probably their bank account and, probably their life is in disarray, just like their wiring, right? So, I use the car community now to find and fulfill like these personal answers, like and find men and women that, represent like true heroes in my life. So that's been the complete blessing of having access to the car world. People think I just go there, people think, oh, it's so easy. Now you can go and look at all these cool cars and stuff, but you get desensitized. Like, who cares? After you see that third, Ferrari, like it doesn't really matter. For me, it's the person behind the car. And that's what I've been really, really engaging and it's been super exciting to be able to have that access.
Yeah. Wrapping up, I wanted to go into what we call the final lap, kind of a grab bag of questions about the franchise.
Han gets to go to like the big family barbecue, like at the end, in a real barbecue, or maybe even some of the real like meals that you guys had together. Like, what is the thing that you're bringing to the party? Whether it's food, whether it's music, what are you bringing?
Oh, that's such a great question. Oh, I never thought of it. What do I bring to the party? Wait, literally, What do I bring to the party? Literally?
Or, mentally, what's your attitude? I don't know. I assume it's like, what are you bringing to the family barbecue? Like, are you bringing the chips? Are you bringing the Coronas? Like, I don't know. It's however you want to interpret it.
What am I bringing to the family? Yeah, that's such a great question. I never even thought about where does all that food show up? Literally, who made all that, right? what would Han bring to? I mean, chips is too easy. Like, come on, I don't think Han needs to bring the chips. I think, I think. Where do you guys live?
LA.
Okay, I think Han would go to Porto's and bring the tres leches cake. You ever have that? You ever go to Porto's? Yeah. That's what Han would bring. Yeah, that's what Han would bring.
I feel like the chips would be a Roman thing. Like Roman would just be like, he wouldn't really think about it. He'd think he could just get by with the chips. So a couple years ago, I did a ranking asking, who was the fastest and furiousest, in Fast and Furious. And I ranked the top 10. I want to get your reaction on Han's ranking. I had Han 9 out of 10 because I gave him 3 out of 4 Coronas in terms of fast speed. But Furious, I only gave him 1 Corona. He's just not a furious guy. You know what I mean? And maybe at 9 he will be a little more furious. Like, some stuff's happened to him over the years. But what do you think? Does that feel about right? Like 9, out of 10 of these, main characters in terms of, his fast and furiousness?
How many Korean friends do you have? Do you have a lot of Korean friends?
I have a few.
Yeah. Koreans are super angry. Like, we hold a lot inside us. So there's a lot of fury in us. If you think about it, that little country is so furious, they split in half. They're furious at each other. Right? We can't even get along with ourselves, right? So there's a lot of anger. So, but I think it's repressing it, like really repressing it, right? So it's always on tap. Right? So maybe from the outside, there's no fury, but I would say that's what fuels him. That's actually what drives the guy, like, to wake up and go, all right, there's self-guilt, there's injustice in the world, and that makes him furious. And I think the fast part is just a byproduct of his anger, and his calmness and all of that. I think if he just let it all go, he'd be out of control. Like, he would kill himself. You know what I mean? So I think that's what, at least for me on a personal, I go, what drives me? Most of the time it's anger. Like, I got to do better because I'm going to show the world this, right? Or you think I'm this, or because I look like this, so that drives us, right? So I agree, but disagree. Yeah,
I'll revisit on the Fast 9. I'll have to go back and reevaluate some things and see if Han moves up a few spots.
I love that sort of under the surface, like, anger sort of fueling other actions. It makes me think, obviously, of, like, the Incredible Hulk, and, like, these characters have become superheroes to a lot of the fans, and even in some of the stunts of the movies. So, what is your favorite superhero?
Batman.
It's mine as well.
Is it?
Nice, yeah. Nice choice.
Because I mean, he's fueled by anger and revenge. That's his ethos in his life. That injustice that happened to his parents, right? That's the reason he's Batman, right? So it's so easily identifiable. I can connect to it right away. If I was a billionaire, I'd be Batman too.
I mean, this is my Justice League, the fast world. So, what in each of these interviews, we've been trying to build, for each character, like a spin-off or a prequel. So, let's pretend we're jumping ahead to after Fast 11, wraps up the main series. Like, what do we think a Han movie looks like? I don't, maybe. I mean, we don't know what happens in Fast 9, obviously, but I don't know. Is it filling in the blanks between Fast 6 and Fast 9, or is it post Fast 11? I don't know. In your mind, what would a Han Fast movie look like?
I wish I could tell you. There's so many movies in my head. That's the problem. I've been thinking about this for a while. And if I can't talk too much about it. Let's see. What would it... Have you ever seen Lone Wolf and the Cub?
I haven't.
You ever see this movie? Anyway, if you guys have a chance, it's an anime. It's a manga, and then they turned it into a live action. And I think many people have been trying to make this film or make the. I think it was a film, a couple of films, and I think even Justin had the rights for it for a while, and then Darren Aronofsky had the rights for a while. But it's a man with a baby, right? And he goes to revenge his wife, right? And to me, I go, they just put Han in there with the baby.
Yeah.
You got it, right? That's all you need, right? And then you get it. His sword is his car, and then boom, you're done, right?
Yeah.
You got it. Come on, man, it's over, right?
And the Fast world just showed, with the great Statham scene in Fast 8 that like they know how to, do some great action with a baby. So like I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
What would be kind of here towards the end? We know you can't say too much, but maybe what would be your brief tease of what fans can expect with Fast 9? The anticipation was already crazy high. I remember when the trailer came out, I was actually, this is back when we could exist in the world, and I was in the office, and I watched it, and I was literally screaming throughout, and then especially when you show up at the end, and then I take off my headphones and I realized the whole office was staring at me just because they didn't realize what was going on, why I was losing it. And now another year has just, built that anticipation even more. So what would be your, tease of what we can expect with Fast 9?
One word, family. Family sums up the whole film. With all the trailers and everything, is to me is kind of misleading. It's really family. I think that's where I have so much hope that the franchise is going to continue. Is that Justin as a filmmaker, if you look at his films, like people can argue and say one film is better than the other, but for me, the reason I remember his films in the Fast is not only because I'm a part of it, is because when we talk, he's always like family will come out of his mouth a million times, because that's the thing that grounds him. Because you start losing control with all the big stunts and all these, these massive action scenes. It's like you start losing perspective, right? You go, how do you ground everything, right? Where do you go back to? And it's been family for him, and this Fast 9, it's like easily, I mean, if you talk about it, it's like, there could be some fatigue. You wonder, it's like, will the Fast fans come back? Like, will they go, where are you guys going to go from now? Right? Like, it's like, like this stuff, like you read it. Come on. I mean, I don't live in La La Land. You read like, again, like, where are you guys going to go now? Like, come on, let it die. It's like over. Right. And I go, all right, I get it. In terms of action, there can be a ceiling, but in terms of like real honest, like, family themes, come on, those stories can go forever. Right? Because we can relate with family and family issues and drama forever. That's why soap operas lived on forever, right? That's why K-drama lives on forever, because there's just drama within the family, right?
Those comments drive me wild. The one that you alluded to, anytime I see on social media, like, I write so much about Fast, and I'll see the comments, and yeah, people will be like, oh, still, but I'm like, okay, you don't watch these movies. If you're saying that, that's kind of like, I get mad when people say that. So I've actually evolved myself as like a fan of things, because I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to comment on like some other thing that won't end, because I'm like, there's a reason it doesn't end. Like, people love that thing. So let everyone have, what they love. And we love the Fast movies. And Sung, thank you so much for joining us and like, becoming a part of the Binge family.
Of course. This has been a lot of fun talking to you guys. This has been great. And I can tell you guys love the franchise. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your constant support, because without you, Derek and Chanelle, and without folks like you that let us talk and kind of share our perspective and our experiences, we have nothing. It's you guys set it all up, and without your support, there will be no Fast 10. So thank you. Really, thank you for your time. It means a lot.
Thank you. I feel like, we've both kind of grown up with this franchise, and it's like amazing to see where it'll go next. So for us, it's just all love and excitement. So pleasure to have you.
I'm
excited for justice for Ham and Han. Like, all the justices are coming in Fast Mime. I can't wait. Awesome.
Every time I wear this, my kosher friends are like, "Why? Why does Ham need justice?"